right, so it's been a little while since we did a project, but and we've got Edna all buttoned up for the winter, cover on, things like that. So it's a little inconvenient to get out here and work on things. But one of the things we've been wanting to do for quite a while and decided to give it a shot today is replace the faucet. And the faucet works okay. We haven't had a big problem with it necessarily. It's not leaking or anything like that. The problem is the distance between the top of the sink and the bottom of the faucet. There's just not much room there. And it does have this little kind of spray nozzle on the end that maybe makes it a little bit closer to the sink, but it's just pretty inconvenient to try to wash dishes or even fill up like a water pitcher or things like that. So we really want a faucet that's going to be a bit taller. And this is obviously kind of an old style, which fits the coach well. So we wanted to try to keep the chrome or, a little bit of the same look, but get something that was going to serve us better when we're wanting to run the water and fill up things. So I've already taken this one out. So basically there's just a nut on the bottom that I took off that was holding it down to the sink here. And then a couple of pipes that we're just using basically some braided hose like this to connect to the bottom of the faucet. So just some hose clamps and pipe like this. So pretty easy to remove the old one. And so that was a quick job. The challenges, which always seem to happen, came in when I tried to install the new faucet. So here's the new one. Doesn't really match the decor of the coach as well as the other one, but it does have that chrome finish to it. It's pretty inexpensive. This was in fact one of the kind of cheapest faucets we could find, and we went with that because we're not using it every day. We think it will work just fine for the coach purpose, and we're not totally sure that we're going to like it. So we wanted to just get something that we thought would work. Where the problem came in is the diameter of this, which is what goes through the hole in the sink and then has a nut thing that screws onto the bottom of this to hold the faucet in. This is too big to fit through the hole. And so I had to figure out how to open up this hole more so that this would fit through it. So what I used is a drill bit like this. And I forget what these are called, but it basically has a number of different size holes that it can make. And I basically just ran it in, and then it drilled out the hole to the size that I needed. Basically, this is now 1.25 inch hole, where it was maybe 1 1/8 or something like that before. So this worked really well. It was pretty inexpensive also. I drilled that out. So now I can put the new one in and get a feel for what it looks like. Okay, so this one has a sprayer that comes out, and obviously when I pushed it in, it kind of poked out a little bit. I'll pull that down. There we go. So this will be installed basically like that. I think we'll have the control on this side. It swivels nicely. We were a little worried about how big this is and if the water would spray out beyond the sink, but it looks like it will work okay. It does have the sprayer, although we're probably not going to be pulling that out a whole lot. So I got it through what I think is the hard part. What I need to do now is mount the faucet, and then I need to work on all of the hoses here. And we can come around and take a look at the hoses. So this faucet has the sprayer connector that connects up to the bottom of the faucet. And then it has hot and cold water. And these are screw fittings, but they are not the type of fitting that is going to connect to the plastic pipe that the coach has. So I need to figure out an adapter to make that work. And I think I'll be able to make some things work out of some brass fittings. So we'll check that out here in a minute and see if I can make that work. And then I think I'll use some of this hose basically to go from the brass fitting to the plastic pipe. So a bit of work to do under here to get the plumbing set up. So I'll work on that and see how things go. Our new faucet came with to attach the faucet to the sink. The old one had these kind of big ugly washers and nuts. So don't really want to use that if I don't have to, obviously all rusted. So I think this plastic one will be a good solution. And basically it just fits over the top of these. And I get them fed through there, slide it up, and then it should just slide up on there and then tighten down. And I want to make sure the faucet's in the right orientation while I tighten that down. Okay, that feels pretty tight. So that piece was pretty easy. All right, so I'm attaching these fittings to the end of my water lines with a little bit of this braided water hose. And these fittings, these are I think a 3/8 barbed fitting to a, forget what size this is, maybe 1/2 inch connector that will go to the faucet. And this just screws right on there. So I've got a pretty nice way to disconnect things here in case I want to make sure I drain the water out of this in the fall. And I think as far as connecting to these plastic lines, that should be a pretty good solution there. So we'll just tighten things up and I think my connections will be done. All right, so we've got our connections made, tightened everything up. Because I've got the water shut off for the winter, I can't test it right now. And there's going to have to be a little bit of hose management that happens out back here so that the weight for the sprayer doesn't get hung up on these hoses. And we have as much room as possible down here for our storage of, our little drying pan and things like that. But overall, I like the way it fit. These fittings worked great. I just found brass fittings that were the same size as the connections on the faucet, and then had a barbed connection so that I could connect to the existing plastic pipes. And the faucet is nice and tight, and so yeah, I think we're going to have a much better faucet next year.